Thanks so much for joining us here on 90s Plus. I'm meteorologist Chris Bianchi, and obviously coming off of a very, very busy weather day yesterday with the I-70 flooding, the City Park area flooding. We're getting some details on that, but also the good news is the weather forecast for today and much of the rest of the week, it's much, much calmer, and it is much, much drier. Temperatures rising into the 90s starting tomorrow. Today we'll be in the mid-80s, so actually a tick below average for this time of year. Can't say that all that often, at least so far this summer. Now, going back to yesterday, obviously that is top of mind for many of us. We saw what was likely a near 1 in 100 year flood across the east part of Denver as well as through Commerce City. And I'll show you some of those specific neighborhoods here in just a second. And folks, these rain totals might not necessarily stick out. 1.5 to 2.5 inches worth of rainfall. The issue with this rainfall, as we're going to show you here in just a second, almost all of this fell in under 30 minutes. In most cases, by the way, most of that rain fell in less than 20 minutes. So it's those rain rates. How much water can the ground absorb in a short period of time? Obviously, when you're getting that much water, keep in mind here, folks, Denver, we average 15 inches of rain a year. So if you're getting 2 inches worth of rainfall, that's what? That's 15% of your annual rainfall in 20 minutes. That is a huge, huge problem. The ground here just simply cannot absorb that much water in this short of a time span. So what we were looking at, I've been looking at the numbers all night and all morning, we're likely somewhere between a 1 in 50 and a 1 in 100 year flood is what we saw in this specific area. That would be Elyria, Swansea, Globeville, Park Hill, the north side of City Park, and on north into Commerce City. That includes, by the way, 270 as well as, of course, I-70, which flooded yesterday and last night. Now, obviously much calmer here in Denver today. We've got a few clouds bubbling on up over the mountains. Those really won't give way to a whole lot this afternoon. We're talking about just isolated storms, and most of those just to the south of Denver along the Palmer Divide and points south there. Much drier, much hotter for this week. I'll give you a little early heads up though. Next week looks a bit busier for us as we'll see maybe a bit more monsoonal moisture work its way back into the picture. Meantime, HD Doppler radar, much calmer than it was, say 12, 15, 18 hours ago. Do have a little bit of cloud cover and a few light rain showers over southeastern Colorado. That is it here, folks, and any cloud cover we've got out there will be dissipating over the next couple of hours. That said, as I mentioned, we do have the potential for 1 or 2 showers and storms along the Palmer Divide and points south of there between about 2 and 6 o'clock. But again here, folks, anything that we do end up seeing will be isolated. It will be mostly gusty outflow winds, so it's those kinds of storms where you get some of those kind of dark looking clouds, it looks ominous, and then you end up with just a few raindrops on your windshield and a brief period of gusty winds, and that kind of storm for us this afternoon. And again, the main threat will be from the Palmer Divide and points south and east of there. So really talking about basically no flood risk today. So again, I know maybe some of us a little bit on edge with what happened yesterday. We're not talking about a flood risk today, really statewide. So again, we can breathe easy, not only for today, but for most of the rest of the week. Current temperatures, 70s and low 80s on the eastern plains, 60s and 70s. As head on up into the mountains, the hot spot right now, Grand Junction at 85. That is a sign of what is to come for most of us here in Colorado. We're getting a ridge of high pressure building in from our west, and that is going to spike those temperatures starting tomorrow and really in earnest on your Wednesday and your Thursday. Highs today, Grand Junction 95. Again, that's about 10 degrees cooler than Denver, and that's again a sign of that warmer air mass moving in from our west. Denver and the eastern plains, a lot of low to mid 80s for us. Hot spot in the eastern plains. Julesburg at 90 degrees. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe Greeley or Akron end up touching 90 as well. But most of us, what you're looking at here, about 2 to 3 degrees below average for this time of year, and we will gladly take that considering how hot it has been in Denver. By the way, it is our second hottest start to a summer on record for us. We will likely finish with our second or third hottest summer on record here in the Mile High City. So it has been an exceptionally hot summer. We'll take these brief breathers when we can get them because, as I mentioned, it's brief. Tomorrow we're back into the 90s, what will likely be our 45th day at 90 or above so far this year. We'll have those winds a little bit gusty at times, 10 to 20 miles an hour, but the story It's dry and it is sunny, and if you thought we basically had limited rain chances for today, tomorrow even drier than today. So again, maybe 1 or 2 showers and storms in the far southern reaches of Colorado. That is pretty much it here, folks. So we're not talking about a whole lot in the way of rainfall for tomorrow. Isolated storm south of town. That is it for us statewide. Then once we get past that here, folks, we really spike those temperatures really quickly back into the mid-90s by your Thursday and your Friday, and perhaps in the upper 90s. A few of the computer models are trying to get us close to 100. I know, yet again, Thursday and Friday. So later on this week, again, could be making yet another dash at 100 degrees. By the way, we are already at 5 days at 100 or above so far this year here in Denver. Our average, long-term average, is less than 100-degree day per year. In the last 30 years, that is about 1.5 100-degree day per year. So it's not that common for us to hit 100, and we could be talking about another run at that. That said, a little bit of good news to pass along is that this weekend and next week will start to cool back down. And as I mentioned at the start of our show here, I think next week in general looks a fair bit busier than this week, with more widespread showers and storms pretty much each afternoon. A bit more typical weather for what we would expect for this time of year here in our beautiful state. So hopefully it's giving you a good idea about what to expect, and also a bit more context on that epic rainstorm that we saw on the east side of Denver last night, as well as through Commerce City. But again, not expecting anything like that today or really throughout the next 7 days, foreseeable future. Looking considerably calmer, drier, and hotter. I'll have another update coming up for you at 9 News at noon, and meteorologist Danielle Grant will have updates for you at 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10 tonight on the 9 News family of networks. Thanks so much for joining us here on 9 News Plus. I'm meteorologist Chris Bianchi, and have a great rest of your Monday.